Good morning. Um, I've gone over whatever papers have been turned in, and I want to talk about some of these problems. I want to actually do some of these problems. So if you haven't turned it in yet, that's okay. You're gonna get a little help here. I need you to understand these concepts, and I understand that the tangent is not necessarily an easy thing to understand, but there are a lot of things, a lot of pieces of this puzzle that you can gain just by knowing that these things are tangent lines. What you need to know first is that a tangent line only touches in one spot, but the most important thing is that tangent line is perpendicular to the radius. Excuse me. So that when you're doing number 4 on your homework, which is this problem right here, and you see that there's a tangent line here, and you see that there's another line coming out here to meet up with it, you need to know that this is a right triangle that you've created, and you're looking at the hypotenuse, but you're not just looking at the hypotenuse, you're looking at what's left over out here, and they want to know what's left over out here, right? Well, you also need to know one more thing. You've been given the length of the radius. That's one of the legs of your triangle. If you're given the radius here, then this has to be the radius. This has to be 15 from here to here. It has to be. That's why it's a circle. I'm sorry, this is a rotten circle, but that's what it is. And so when you look at your paper, I need you to start labeling these things for yourself to give yourself a hand. I mean, you're making things a lot harder than they need to be. They're only looking for X out here because, everybody should know this in here. So when you solved it and you found 39 as your answer, that really wasn't the answer that the text was looking for, and I counted off on it, or I gave you a comment that said, don't forget to subtract out that 15. And here's why. I'm going to do the math for this, but you already know the Pythagorean theorem. If you have your leg squared times your leg squared equals that hypotenuse squared. And I'm going to write it out. I think some of you have a problem setting it up, but I'm going to write it out. This whole thing can be solved with, get rid of this 15 for now because it's going to confuse you, 15 squared, this leg and this leg, plus 36 squared equals the hypotenuse squared, and then I'm going to put out here minus 15 that we've already been given. That we're going to find the big number first and then subtract out the 15 that we already know. Now you could set it up so that you have this plus this equals this minus 15. And that's totally fine, but it may or may not make it more difficult for you because the order of operations comes into play, and when you solve it, you're taking the square root and then undoing what you're doing. So I'm going to stop and just go ahead and solve this for the entire hypotenuse, and then we'll back out the 15 that we already know of. Right? So if the total length is 39, which is what we get to, then 39 minus 15 is that 24 that is our answer. And I'm going to show you how we get there. 15 squared, everybody knows, is 225. If you don't know that, that's why you have a calculator. What you didn't know was that 36 squared is 1296, and I had to use a calculator to find that myself, equals x squared. And when you put these two together, you get 1,521, because that's what we do next. We combine our terms, equals x squared. All right? I'm going to rewrite it and then do the math on top of it, because that's the method that I would like you to use because it's clean. It's easier for a math teacher to see the whole process if you rewrite it and then do the math on top of it. Now x equals, now believe it or not, this is 39. Okay, so 39 squared is 1521, and I checked it on my calculator. That's why I wrote it here in the corner to remind myself if I needed to. So I found that x, when I was finding the whole hypotenuse here, is 39. So it's x, really x plus 15 equals 39. And I could have put that in there and squared the whole thing, but then it would have been a much, much bigger mess had I started out with this. There are a couple of things in there that really would have messed stuff up. So I wanted to go ahead and find the whole hypotenuse, and then I can subtract 15 from both sides. And then I come up with x equaling the 24 that we were looking for. All right, so that was how we were supposed to solve number 4. I'll do some more videos. I'm going to do 2 in a row talking about 5 and 6.